Oh, I say! Messi. Oh, brilliant skill from Lionel Messi. Surging forward with real menace here. Brilliant from Messi. Oh, what a goal that is!
Yes, good morning. Hang on, what is that? You know what she's done, don't you? Apologies, people. You know what she's done? She's opened the top bits of the blinds. I've not noticed. She's buggered off to work and left me to pick up the pieces. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Savva here from Football Heritage TV. Yes, 24. No, that's a complete lie. 24, 30 odd hours to go until Tottenham Hotspur take on Liverpool at White Hart Lane. This time last year, we would be dreading such a fixture. Let me start this again. This time last year, we'd be dreading such a fixture. This time this year, we're not dreading it, are we? So we're not dreading it. Look, I'm excited. It's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult to look at what is night and day from yesterday, from last season and this season. It is very, very difficult for other clubs to understand what has happened, why we're so different. Equally, we've got to keep our feet on the ground. But my guest today, I've got a couple of people jumping in and out over the next hour and a half or so, is somebody who's not going to keep their feet on the ground. This is somebody who went from absolutely not needing to watch Tottenham because of how bad we'd got to now talking about doubles. Everyone in our club's going to be up for the Ballon d'Or. So it's all happening. By the way, sorry, I'm so sorry. My camera is it's not straight, is it? Is that better? I don't know what's going on with my camera, people. I'm so sorry. I just don't feel like I'm straight at all, am I? But it is what it is. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the chat. So far, the team news that I've seen has not changed from yesterday. I haven't seen any concrete information. There he is. There is Kuva99 just getting a brew. Mr. Northerner, how are you?
Not too bad, actually. No, I meant a beer, mate.
Beer, you meant a beer?
No.
Nice.
I didn't have breakfast, so I had to go and sort out something. I've compromised and I'm having a cup of soup.
So hang on. You're having a cup of soup? Wow.
Is it minestrone?
Oh, minestrone's the worst.
That's the best
worst.
one.
Oh, no. That is absolutely minging. Are you really having a cup of soup?
Broccoli and cauliflower.
Oh, mate. It's Friday.
Right. So what?
Yeah, it's not a broccoli and cauliflower morning, is it? Friday. It's got to be like I don't know what cup of soups do.
Fish fingers and ketchup. Does that work? Right.
Yeah.
Mulligatawny. If I had it, it would be mulligatawny. That's my favourite soup.
Yeah.
There you go.
Fair enough.
This is quality content, I'm telling you.
No, listen, I'm absolutely loving it. I hope the 120 odd people that are in the chat are enjoying it. Let us know in the chat your favourite cup of soup. I don't even know what the flavours are, but Ben Kaufman, the Kauf, whatever you call yourself these days, Eeyore, whatever. How are you?
Doing all right. I've just hosted my first ever show on Tottenham on Tour in the morning, so slightly buzzing over that. It might just be the 2 coffees I've drunk, but having a good day, being mod father stuff as always, controlling everyone as people like to tell me. But yeah, it's a good morning. But let's talk about cup of soup. I love cup of soups.
Let's talk about cup of soup some more. Tell you what, we're just chucking a couple of pot noodles for lunch. We'll have a cup of soup for breakfast, pot noodle for lunch. Is that what you've got?
Are you looking at my cupboard here?
I'm not going to lie to you. A chow mein pot noodle when I was younger, I was all over it. I don't know if they still do it.
I was all over it. I've not seen the chow mein one.
Yeah, it's in a blue pot, if I remember rightly.
Oh, wow.
Even though my colour coding's on these things.
Yeah.
Oh man. Listen,
always keep a good supply of it because the kids quite often want a snack immediately when they come home from school before dinner. So, pot noodle, ideal.
I loved the pot noodle. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't good for me, but I loved it. My mum kept saying it wasn't good for me. And then I never put on weight eating it. And then suddenly when I turned about 30, the weight started going on. So I'm blaming the pot noodles from a decade earlier.
I'm hoping that happens in 2 years because I'm on a knife edge of underweight and underweight.
Well, thanks for that. Some of us are out here on 75-day crash. No, it's not a crash course diet. 75-day life-changing regime. Blah, blah, blah. But I did just weigh myself this morning. I am 10 pounds down. 10 pounds down in 12 days.
You know what's good for that, though, Savva? To stop you being hungry.
I'm not hungry. I'm not. I've got a replacement shake. I've got 2 pints of water. I am good to go.
What you need is some coffee company coffee to control that appetite. That is what you need.
Shameless advertising.
Shameless plug.
The best thing for someone who doesn't like coffee is to go to your coffee shop and drink coffee. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, absolutely.
That's one.
Guys, let's talk a little bit of footy with, we don't have to be serious about it. It does feel strange. It feels like whenever I watch a Spurs channel now, whenever I read a post by Spurs, it's either very, very calm or absolutely, utterly, ridiculously the other way in terms of we're the best thing that's ever been seen in the Premier League. But I will bite your hand off for those two options from where we were last season. Now, Kuva, I'll start with you because I know how excited you get about things. Last season, even when we were best start to a season and we were top 3, top 4, it wasn't like this top 3, top 4 and best start to a season, was it? It was different.
Absolutely. I remember it was the second game last season. Was that the Wolves game where I'm trying to remember?
Yeah,
was that a 1-0 win or something like that? Yeah, it was, we were played off the park for 90 minutes and just happened to score one and they couldn't. That was the difference between the teams. They had no way of finishing off their chances. We were getting away with murder last season in that start. This season, we are playing great stuff. I mean, even the game at the Emirates, we're kind of disappointed we didn't nick that. We're kind of disappointed we didn't come away with all 3 points. Same against Brentford. It could have been looking at a straight, going for 7 wins. That would have been something, wouldn't it? Even right up there with Man City, shoulder to shoulder. It's a different attitude. The different attitude with the team. It's come from the manager. It's come from. You could even say it's starting to. Things are changing at the top, aren't they? The way the club's being restructured now, the belief in a different way of doing things, bringing through young players. Everybody feels like they've got a chance now. If you're a player under the age of 25 and Spurs come in now, we're starting to look like a really good prospect. With somebody looking like a team that's going to be pushing to win things. And we're also going to be giving the young players a chance. What a great combination to have. We've seen the likes of Dortmund do it, Sevilla do it.
My door's going.
No problem. So we've seen this at clubs around the world. Ajax have done it for years as well. We're kind of doing our own version of that now, and so many of us calling out for it season after season. It's actually coming about at the moment. This is something incredible. And the fact this is all coming together so quickly this season under the manager, it's almost like the sense is your mind is saying there's going to be a bump in the road, but your heart just can't see it. It's just like, well, hey, let's go again. I don't care who's coming along on the horizon. I feel like we could go up to the Etihad and give them a good game, and coming away with something. That's what it's supposed to be about. Forget all the stats. Forget about logic. At the end of the day, for me, and I think for most people, what football is supposed to be doing is what that feeling it gives you. It's how you feel about your team. And for me, I feel top of the world. I think bring them on, no matter who it is. We're just going to give them a game. We've got fight, we've got quality, we've got pace, we've got power. There's unity. There's harmony. There's improvement throughout games. And we're just going in this forward direction. We call it the Ange train for a reason. I'm fully on board. Savva always likes to see this funny side of it, but in my heart, this is how I'm feeling. I feel like we are seeing the birth of like something absolutely great at this club. It's going to take something to really knock that off, and a bad result here and there isn't going to do it. The momentum we are building up is just unbelievable. And the feel-good factor is going through everybody. Even the most staunch sort of doubters, they're kind of having to go, well, we'll see how it goes. Each time we go and get a result at somewhere we're expected not to, or being told we can't do this, we're not as good as them, they're better than us, and we still get a result. So I'm looking at this against Liverpool as well and thinking, they're for the taking. Everything suggests on paper and logically that Liverpool are going to be very tough to beat and continue this unbeaten run. But all unbeaten runs end eventually. And it usually takes just somebody playing their heart out, playing their socks off for a match, just to do something that Liverpool aren't really expecting. And they have not played us under Ange yet. They're not going to be used to this. So many players that are able to break out of their press. And if we get our passing going really quickly and build-up play going very swiftly, Basuma at the heart of it all, their press becomes nullified. If that happens, what have Liverpool really got then? They're going to have to play on the break and rely on the supreme talent they have got up front. And let's be honest, it is supreme talent. But when you look at your Doggy and Van der Ven on the left side, that's Mo Salah potentially taken out of the game. Look on the right side, then you're just going to get into Nunes a bit by himself. Not going to do it. He needs his partner in crime up front, and I think we've got the tools to actually beat them. They have the tools to beat us as well, though. That's what makes it such an exciting game, and why I'm dying to look forward to it. What's your thoughts, Ben?
How am I going to follow a Churchillian speech like that? 7-3 it is.
Make the coffee, son.
But yeah, it's really good to just be willing to enjoy a football game for once. There's no sort of thought that it's going to be a crap game of football tomorrow. It's going to be the beautiful game. It's going to be two teams that want to win a football match, and that's all we want to see. It's not going to be any of this Sheffield United time wasting for 50 years nonsense. It's not going to be Arsenal talking all that and then bottling it as they usually do. It's going to be two football clubs that want to win a football match, that will respect their opponent, and they will be going at each other. And it's going to be absolutely brilliant. I'm really looking forward to going to a game of football tomorrow. It's just the last 4 years of football have only been going to football just so you can see your mates. That's what football has been for a Tottenham fan. You just go and see your mates like Phil Pease in the chat and all the guys that usually go. Now we've got the social aspect and we've got the football. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be absolutely great. I'm looking forward to see what this team can do. It's a young team. All the pieces are falling into place. One of the things we were talking about last night is things like the academy. We've now got an academy director that understands how to build a football team in Simon Davis. We finally got people in that building that know how to build a young team. Things are starting to come together. It's just down to the people in charge to make sure they don't mess it up. That's it at the end of the day. And it's going to be fun watching a game of football, and I'm looking forward to it. 7-3 Tottenham. We're winning the league. Everyone's in the mud, including us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Stel did a really good video on his meeting some of the coaching staff at Spurs the other day over on Tottenham away. If you get a chance to go and have a look at that, it's well worth it at some point. And he's talking about the philosophy going through the club now and how it's changed. 10 years ago, for the last 10 years, we used to produce or try and produce Champions League level footballers. That was it. That was the whole purpose of the academy. Nothing more than that. Now we are already playing the Ange ball. It's going right the way through from the youngest players right the way through to the first team. Players are being taught winning does matter. It's no longer about just looking at a player and thinking, how did they do individually? It's now looking at, let's win, even at the academy level. Win games, winning matters. You're building that mentality right the way through the club, building the style of play as well. If this is a long-term strategy, we've been calling out for it for ages, absolutely ages. I remember saying this back in the 1980s because my second team's always going to be Ajax. I've got some really good friends, Ajax fans, and Spurs are their second team. It's probably the whole Jewish heritage on both sides, both teams that does it. Why? What? I don't know. It's going to be something to do with that anyway. But anyway, they've said it all along, and I've agreed with them. Get that system into a club in England. They're going to dominate for a long time because once it's in place, you can cope with a season where perhaps players aren't coming through at their peak for one season, but you've built up enough money in reserve in this country, where all the footballing money is right now, that you can just go out and buy the players for that season. Rest of the time, you can rely on your youth team coming up and producing absolute gems for a first team. Seen what's happening at Man City. Now we're in place to do the same thing. Brighton are doing it, but we're to all respect to Brighton, we're on a higher level than that because of our financial ability, our financial clout, our income. We can do great things with this, and the future is so bright right now. It's infectious.
Philosophy is all we needed. All we needed.
Yeah, he's on them this morning, isn't he, Ben? These speeches that he's got written down. No, he's got them written down on his Word document. He's just reading off one by. It doesn't matter what the question. This is going to be the answer. No, look, you're right. It's about time as well. One of my biggest gripes, as you all know, we've talked about this a lot, Coover, in the last year and a half or so. One of my biggest gripes has always been, forget the first team for a minute. It has always been, okay, what are we doing behind that? You know, what are we doing with the youth team? How can you have a youth team that's producing players year in, year out? And I don't know if any of you guys watch, but before Champions League games, they always have all of the Champions League teams, their youth teams play the same day at youth level in the youth Champions League. And I watch a lot of those, beauty of being at home. And I watch Man City's over the years, and I watch Chelsea's over the years, and Liverpool's over the year, and you go, God, look at these kids. Like, look at some of these kids can play.
Yeah.
I watched ours when we were in the Champions League, and it was a bit like, this isn't, wow. There was no style, no direction. Now, obviously, the last couple of years that started to shift. And I noticed it this year as well, going on a tangent, but not really. I watched Newcastle last week. Their youth team played AC Milan's youth team. And it looked like a club that had just completely not done anything with their youth team for years. Their youth team looked absolutely dreadful. Milan spanked them 4-0. 4-0 was lucky. And for me, that's what I've always wanted to see, Ben. I've wanted to see something being implemented at youth level that they don't have to be Harry Kanes. Yeah. Not everyone's going to be a Harry Kane, but you're bringing through, like Liverpool, bringing through the Curtis Jones, solid Premier League midfielder that can drop in, play, and does bits. Do you know what I mean? That's all I want to see from our academy, Ben.
Yeah. It's what we all want. We all want to see players come out of the academy into the first team, be that sort of one of our own figure. Every single team wants players that they understand on the pitch. So it's like, I know what you're thinking. You know what I'm thinking. Everyone, we need to bring this togetherness back. And against Arsenal and against Brentford, the team and the fans look like they're starting to be on that same book. And we've not even been in the same genre for the last 5 years. We've as a fan base want to be in, in rock and roll. And the team is playing, I don't know, exclusive tea banging against the wall music. I don't know what the hell that type of music is. I'm just going with it. And we for once, we're in the same book. Now we just need the team and the fans and the club to be in the same page. Once that happens, we are something to be reckoned with. But it's going to take time, and hopefully we get there soon. But it's going in the right direction. And appointments like Simon Davis at the youth academy. It looks good. Let's just carry it on. Let's just carry on this new thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good for Spurs, right, Kuva? It's good that this is all happening. I do feel that there's going to be a sense of people expecting it all now, though. From a youth perspective, Kuva, these things take time. You don't suddenly go from not producing anything to, oh, look, there's 4 or 5 players in the first team. But it's the baby steps, pardon the pun, on the youth team. It is the baby steps, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. It's not just players getting into the team right now. We are looking at a project that really sees fruition in 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 years' time. That's when it becomes commonplace. So you've got to start it now. The fact that we are already seeing absolutely stellar performances within that academy team, top. It was both the under-21s and the under-18s, both storming it, if I remember rightly. I don't get to watch those anymore, but I wish I was. Perhaps I'll have to subscribe to something at some point. But the fact that they're also learning winning is something you teach teams. You do teach young players. It's important. And director of the academy director is saying, if we're doing all this stuff and looking at individual players, what's the point? You've got to have results at the end of it. You've got to have that win. You've got to turn these things into something that matters. Players need to learn that, need to get that feeling. There's an old adage that losing is a habit, winning's a habit, and losing is also a habit. We can't afford to just keep treating these games like they don't matter. They do matter. Get that into the players. You learn about character as well as ability that way. And you will have players that are ready to make that step up. They know what's required. They know what's required to win. That's the important bit. So we are looking at a long-term project that's already starting to look rosy because we just happen to have a little talented group at the moment. And they will be stepping up soon. That keeps that new influx of blood that's so important to every team. And it also keeps the fresh legs and the tireless running that Ange Postecoglou is going to want for the years to come. I think we're in such a good place right now. And it's happened so fast, you have to pinch yourself. Ben's talking about the music to suit the team from last few seasons. I'm thinking of someone like Mahler, those sort of depressing piano concertos.
What it was.
Every day was a grey, cloudy day, and perhaps some Russian saga or something. Now it's all just bright sky, happy days.
It's the Monkeys.
Blue sky playing at all times.
It's the Monkeys. I was waiting for that.
Unfortunately, boys, I have to jump, but always great to see you boys on stream. And as always,
been a pleasure, Ben. We will see you soon, mate. We will see you soon.
Big up.
See you soon, mate.
Yeah. I mean, you make a good point. Going back to what you were saying just now, though, about the way we play. I heard a bit of it just as I was coming upstairs in terms of nullifying Liverpool. I do think that whatever anyone says, Kuva, this for me is a big test in terms of that forward line. I've mentioned this all week. I truly believe that Liverpool have the best depth in a forward line in the Premier League. I don't think many teams across Europe could turn around and go, hey, we could pick any one of these 5 and we'd be comfortable with those 3 starting, if that makes sense. Could that be the difference for us? Because Udogie, look, I thought he had I wouldn't say dodgy. I thought he had a nervous start to Arsenal. Then after the sort of 25th, 30th minute, I thought pocketed Saka. But Salah's a different ball game. Salah's been doing it year in, year out. And as I always say, Salah is what the Arsenal fans hype up Saka to be, right? Saka is Salah light for me. You've then got Núñez, who brings that physical presence, that running, that unorthodox nature of not knowing what he's going to do. Diaz with his pace against Pedro Porro. Gakpo and Jota, if they play, they'll drop deep into the holes and make Sarr and Basuma have to make sure that they're dropping back, but also that Romero and Van der Ven, are they coming out to meet them? Are they sitting back? I think there's some really good matchups, but this is definitely where they're strongest, isn't it, up top?
Oh, without doubt. Has been for a few years, hasn't it? Even when they're at the peak of their success in recent years, Liverpool, it was the midfield in a lot of times was very workmanlike. You know, the James Milners, the Jordan Henderson, because they knew what they had to do. It was the simple stuff. Just make it very difficult for other teams to play in that middle area. And all they had to do is get the ball to this forward line because it's sensational. When you got Robertson and Trent bombing up the wings to support, they're dangerous. Of course they are. And you quite rightly say it is a test for us. It's the biggest test so far this season, without doubt. Liverpool are a quality side. They're certainly going to be pushing for the title. I don't even like to use the word dark horses for it. I think just one of the two favourites for me. I don't see Arsenal in that equation. I think that there's that kind of muscle memory, if you like, from the manager that gets into the team that they know what's required. When it comes to the crunch, they know how to get over the line. That's something, despite what the Arsenal fans think, their team hasn't done that yet. Yeah, you can get an FA Cup, you can get a one-off day where something works. But when it comes to the league, we see it time and time again. There are certain sides that put together these monstrously long unbeaten runs, especially towards the end of the season when it's City, and it gets them over the line every time. The only one that's managed to really break that has been Liverpool. So this is the size of the task we're up against. I just think with home advantage, that might just be the bit that tips it for us. It's a long old trek going between Merseyside and London. It really is. It does affect you. Away games, they're always going to be more difficult. So I just think we've got to get the crowd on our side. We've got to be really quick with the passing and doing it quick in the match. If we have a slow start again, give them a foothold before they usually get it, because they're one of the sides that concedes first again, aren't they? And then comes back. If we can score early and really turn the screw at that point, that's their work cut out for them. We'll see how good they are then. I just can't pick how it's going to go. I mean, like I said, for me, this result, I'm going to go for anywhere between 2-2 and 5-5, and anything in between. It's just.
It's not going to be, famous last words, it's not going to be 0-0. Just really, really quickly, sorry if anyone saw me distracted there. I was just messaging the mother-in-law. Her cat of 15, 16 years has passed away. So I was just offering my condolences and seeing if she wanted to come over for a cup of Rosalie or a brew, as Kuva would say. There's a big up. There's over 240 of you in the chat. Thank you, Kuva, so far for carrying this for me. I'm now fully engaged. Apologies. If you haven't liked the show, please do. We are on 92 likes. We should be on 150 easily. Subscribe if you haven't to Free Spurs Boys for Kuva and for Bobby K. That would be amazing. We'll put the link in the chat shortly. Subscribe to myself. We're chasing down 11.5K. Is that something you chase down? I don't know. The next milestone is 11.5K. And if you haven't already voted, please do vote for Savva, for this guy, for the Football Content Creator Awards. Should be a good laugh. And if we win, it'll be great. If we don't, we don't. But come on, I am Spurs and I'm representing Spurs in these categories for you. Yeah, look, I make you right, Kuva. I can't see in any way, shape or form that this game is going to be 0-0. I think this game has got goals written all over it. Another big test, talking yesterday, another big test for our back four. I think the doggy will know who he's up against. I think we know Mo Salah's going to play. And if Alexander-Arnold plays, you know that right-hand side is Alexander-Arnold and Salah. I think the kind of the guessing game will be more in the middle because he's got a habit of changing this front three around. Now, my concern is that they will play in front of us a lot. And again, sorry, I know people, my concern is Romero coming out and doing what he does best. I'm not worried about Van der Ven. Am I wrong to be thinking this about Romero? I'm just thinking what I saw him do against when Arsenal played in front of us against them the other week, and he came out and clattered people, and I thought, oh, please stop. You're going to get a yellow card. Do you see where I'm going with this, Cooper? I'm really worried.
I want him to clatter a few people.
Oh, you don't. You
I
don't.
do. I'm all for it. Get yourself
you
out.
don't.
This used to be a regular thing with what Pochettino talked about as well. If you're a good defender, you would quite often go out, let the forward know you're there in the first minute. If you picked up a card, you just manage it for the rest of the team.
Yeah, but this is the problem. It's the managing it bit, Cooper, isn't it?
Not this season. Different animal this season. Different animal this season. I think he's taken to the captaincy really well. I think he's been one of our best players so far.
But he wasn't against Arsenal, right? But this is the thing. People have short memories. Go back to that first half against Arsenal. How many times, like 2 tackles he went in on, and both times that they were, he should have been given a yellow for that.
Don't worry about that.
No, I do worry. I like proper footballers, man. I like.
You can't be great 100% in every game. So he's got it out of his system. He'll be fine.
Yeah,
I've got full faith in him. I've got full faith in him. Last season, I remember Jacob and I saying we wanted him to be captain this season. He is now.
Well, steady on. He's a vice captain. He's a vice captain,
isn't it? He's still responsibility in the team.
Yeah, listen, I hear you, and I know you like to go on these hypes and that, but listen, he worried the hell out of me last Sunday. Second half, he was faultless. The first half, I just thought it was very, very poor from him. I don't know. I'm worried because Nunes is a pain in the backside. Jota floating around. I just feel like he's going to come out and clatter someone. I don't know. I can't help it, Kuva. It worries me. I know everyone can tell me, don't let it worry you. I watch him and he worries me. Sorry. It worries me. He doesn't.
Extra layover excitement then for you. I envy you. See, I don't worry about him in the slightest. Last season, yeah, maybe. But I mean, last season, I just didn't give a monkeys anyway. There was nothing worth watching, whether he was on the pitch or off.
No, of course.
Yeah, so I just think there's a different attitude to everything this season. He's also got that added layer of it's not all on him to do everything. I think he's got a lot of trust in the players around him now. It starts with a goalkeeper and his defensive partner, Van der Ven in particular. And he knows Basuma's always hovering around to deal with stuff ahead of him. Which leaves Porro, who's been rapidly improving in defensive terms, as well as offering the passes forward. Him tucking into midfield's been a master stroke. I think we've got everything there. I'm not worried about individuals like Romero. It's more about, for me, the only concern is, as a unit, it's the team. It's moving the ball around swiftly. It's getting the players getting into space quickly that's going to really defeat Liverpool, because if they're allowed to do their usual insane press on us and we're not finding a way to counter it, we're going to be in a lot of trouble for a lot of the game, because they will exploit it. That's what they do. They've had huge success doing it. But you look at the likes of Udogie, Basuma in particular, who's been absolutely outstanding at it.
Yeah,
Maddison's good at it as well. Those technical midfielders and the technical ability on the ball for a lot of players in the team now. If they're relaxed, moving the ball swiftly, Liverpool's press doesn't hurt you. You can play your way through it. Barcelona used to be the ultimate symbol of doing this. You know, you just couldn't press Barcelona at one point. They moved it too quickly. They were too good. We need to be thinking in those sort of terms. If we do that, we're going to have a great day against them, because they're there to be exploited as much as we are when it comes to defensive and gaps and, you know, taking chances. Both teams do it. Liverpool's is based, much as ours is, on getting the ball back as quick as you can and really putting pressure on the other team. So they're the ultimate test for it. They are the ultimate press I've seen in decades in this country, anyway.
I agree with you. I do agree with you, and I know it's a lot about a lot of the players around it. I do feel though that people only see what they want to see. Like I'm looking at, like when I'm looking at the back four right now, I think Van der Ven is head and shoulders the player Romero is. I'm just going to put. I think he's just head and shoulders calmness, positional sense, reads the game expertly. You know, I get it. Like when I see comments like this, Romero is very unfortunate. I'm not talking about the own goal. The own goal for me, body shape was crap. I'm going to be honest. I think if you look at most defensive coaches, they'll tell you that when that ball came in, his body position wasn't good. So it was unlucky, but it wasn't the best body position. My concern with him is when Van der Ven brings the ball out, I feel like it's calm. I feel like when he's got the ball, I don't ever go, oh my God, Van der Ven's bringing it into midfield. Romero 3 or 4 times in that first half, loose passes into the central midfield that just worried me. That's all. And I'd be a hypocrite to just sit here and say the good things about our players. I'll always look for the positives and the negatives because that's how you grow.
But then, as much as you said, only see what you want to see, could apply that to you there as well. Because how about the rest of the season? He didn't have a good game against Arsenal.
But hang on, but you couldn't apply it to me. I've just said the good and the bad. Look what I said for him in Arsenal. The second half, the guy was sensational. But the first half, that's what worries me. You've got to be switched on for 90 minutes as a centre half. You can't have, we're brilliant second half, first half, because it's comments like this that really worry me, right? It's comments like this. I'll show you what I mean. Where is it? It's this. Rolls Royces don't do what he does. I'm sorry, there's a huge difference. Ledley King was a Rolls Royce. Calmness personified. Toby Alderweireld, that's a Rolls Royce. Calmness. Don't give the ball away. Don't make rash tackles. I feel like we need to modify what the term Rolls Royce means here, because we're doing that thing again where we're just going to put people on these pedestals, but then ignore when they don't do the things they should be doing. And that for me is why players are overrated. Sorry, you know me, I'm going to bring it back down to that level. I think he's been good this year, but we saw him tested for the first time on Sunday against quick forwards, against forward lines that play in front of him and keep the ball. And his first fault was rush out. That was his first fault. That worries me. I'm not going to apologise for it. It worries me. Sorry, me.
He'll have sat down and when they analyse the games at the end of it, he'll have talked it through. Andrew will have talked it through with him. This is why I'm not worried. I'll see where we're going with things. I see faults getting ironed out as well. Look at the difference in Porro's defending as well. It's going to be dealt with. Sure. I'm not in the slightest bit bothered about it. Well, I wouldn't say bothered about it. I'm not worried about it as we go into the future. I think he's going to get better and better as the season progresses. I'm not looking at one half of being shaky as defining what he's going to do in the next game. I think draw a line under it, learn from it, improve for the next time. I really do see him as being one of the outstanding players throughout the season, Romero, it's the unit again. That's what we've really got this season that we haven't had in years. It is that sense of unity. It's that sense of there's a core of the team. The players that believe in each other around and the ones around them. There's trust. There's a better sense of understanding with each match, and that is going to improve massively over the season because this is still early days, isn't it? So I think with Romero, just let him play. He's going to do what he does.
Listen, I think half of him is a top player. I do. I think half of him is a top centre half. But I refuse to go overboard about players. I can't just go overboard about players when I've seen them play so many bad games. For me, I like him. I think, but I said before the game against Arsenal that it was about the bozo. The same way I said about Udogie. I've seen people saying Udogie's the best left back in the league, and it's like, well, slow down. Let's let these boys be tested, because there's a difference between playing your Bournemouths and your Burnleys and then playing your Arsenals and your Liverpools. Yeah, sure. I'm just saying, I was just cautious that the first half, I got to half time and thought, you weren't good, Romero. Udogie, first half, wasn't good.
No, he wasn't.
Second half, brilliant. But fans don't want that. Here, I mean, it's a silly comment. You just don't like Romero. I do like Romero. I tell you what, if Romero stopped doing those silly slide tackles for no reason, I think he's brilliant. But he's got that in him. And that worries me because top Rolls-Royce defenders do not. They do not do that. That's my worry.
Sergio Ramos did.
Yeah, but listen, Sergio Ramos, I mean, was everything else about him was world class. Everything else about Romero is not world class. There's a difference for me. he's not. He's not.
For me, I just think there's some attributes you just don't take out of a player. Dele Alli was another one. You shouldn't ever tell him to calm down and, you know, don't lose your head. He needs to be rattled and wound up to play well. It's been the same for a number of years, and it used to be quite a common thing in central defences way back in the day. One would be the absolute bulldozer, while the other one's a little bit more clever, a little bit more cultured, a little bit more able to tidy up the carnage, if you like. I see Romero as the tank, and Van der Ven could be the Rolls Royce.
Good God, Pierre, this is nonsense. So because Romero goes and clatters people and gets yellow cards means I don't understand how he plays. Listen, Pierre, you don't understand football. There's a difference between being an aggressive defender and being rash. There's a huge difference, right? There's a huge difference. For me, I think Van der Ven's been better this season. I think Van der Ven I can't remember in any games this year seeing Van der Ven make rush tackles. I can't remember him giving the ball away needlessly into midfield countless times. Sorry, for me, I'll take Van der Ven.
Van der Ven's more in your Ledley King sort of mould, isn't he? I'll see Romero more of your Razor Ruddock. I think you could just make a good pairing out of it. I think we'll see that this season.
But by the way, Kuva, this is the thing where more than one thing can be true at once. I'm not sitting here saying they're not a top partnership. I think it will grow into a top partnership. All I'm saying is the first 5 games I've seen Romero play, when I've not seen him do that, I've sat here watching all the 90 minutes, Kuva, going completely comfortable. This is the Romero I want to see. It was just I don't know whether it was a North London derby or what. Yeah. And I don't care if anyone is lying. If when he rushed out and cracked that player, I think everyone's thinking needless yellow card. People might like that aggression, but I'm thinking it was near the halfway line. You're thinking you just don't need to do it, because those yellow cards you pick up from another ref, they're the ones that in the 70th minute, when you do a silly little foul or give the ball away and lunge, you're sent off, and now all of a sudden your team's under pressure. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I think Romero has been head and shoulders above what he was last year, for sure. I'm just saying. Look, all I'll say is this: it's about any player. If you want to go from there to there to there to there, the levels, the small nuances in players to get from one level to another level, they're small, but they're important.
Oh, yeah,
and
sure.
I think it's okay to look at a player and say you need to change that.
For me, that part of his game, that aggressive part of the game, for me, it's like a homage to, you know, days gone by. You know, one of my favourite players, Graham Roberts. That was a standard thing for him. Go and smash the granny out of the player. So for me, it's a part of the nostalgia thing. It's days gone by. I love that sort of rough and tumble element to the game. I don't think we see it enough nowadays. It's become a very softly sort of game. I think it loses something.
Kuva, I agree with you. This is my point, right? If we were back in the 90s, right? If we were back in the 90s where everyone was allowed to go in, I'm all for it, right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with an aggressive defender. And of course, you look at the likes of Sergio Ramos. John Terry, for example, was an aggressive defender. But John Terry, for me, again, it's an age thing. As he got older, learned when to go and be aggressive, when not.
Yeah,
He learned when to dive in, when not. Like, if you look, there was someone sent me a clip of Van der Ven, what they perceived to be diving in against Arsenal, Kuva, at the weekend. And it was when he was tracking back and he slid and recovered. I think we've all seen it. And I messaged this person, Matt, I said, you've got a very weird understanding of what diving in is. That's not diving in. That is a faultless going to ground tackle. Diving in, I'm talking about, listen, and I said, he's been really, really good at it. This season, it just worried me. That's all it was. It worried me. Things I saw Udogie do. It worried me. That's all.
You could look at it as a team ethic as well. This team, as well as Pochettino's prime Pochettino, it was very much about nipping the tacks in the bud and making that aggressive counter move, and the defenders winning the ball high up there. Romero does it very aggressively. And just the simple fact is, sometimes he's going to get it wrong. That is it. It's either for me. Instead of looking to say, well, he's got to stamp that out of the game. I'm just thinking just time it a bit better. That's all. Sometimes it is going to go wrong. He's going to get himself sent off in some games. I know that. That is the way he plays. I just think if you take that, I think if you just take that away from him, I don't think you've got the same player anymore.
I agree. I just think all the while he's doing that, it's why I don't put him on the level above as a defender. That's only me. That's only me. Listen, when people are going, I hate this whole, oh, you don't understand how Ange plays. Stop it. Every time somebody talks about a footballer, it can't be, you don't understand Ange. Go away. I was one of the first people online, if you remember, saying, get me Ange Postecoglou. I want this manager at my football club. So don't be coming in here with the whole, oh, you don't understand Ange football. Go away. You're allowed to critique players, people. Otherwise, we're going to sit here and go, yeah, all 11 are brilliant. Another one I critique a lot, I'm going to bring it up again, I critique a lot, is Kulusevski. For me, again, it just underwhelms me. People can convince me all they want, number of touches, pass. You can convince me all you want. My eyes see, I'm underwhelmed. You can't. I'm not going to do a big chat about Kulu, by the way. I'm just saying, like, it just underwhelms me. That's all. That's all it is. Look, what doesn't underwhelm me is the midfield three. The midfield three does not underwhelm me in any way, shape, or form. Their movement, their passing, their energy, their goal scoring, their tackling. This is going to be really, really tough, Kuva, isn't it? Bringing people into the mix that can keep that level once one of those three drops out. Because at some point, Skippy will go, Højbjerg will go, Ndombele and Lo Celso won't be here. And we're going to have to find that blend in midfield to bring in 2 or 3 more that can all play this style of football.
Going to have to hope that Bentancur's recovery goes to plan, because before he got injured, he was actually playing in a way that suggests he could cope with this kind of football. I think it was an underrated part of his game before the injury that he was pressing really well. He was making up the ground. He was getting forward with the ball. He was doing all of the things you'd want. And he'd be like if heaven forbid, Basuma's not available for any length of time. If we had a fully fit Bentancur coming back into the side, it would certainly help to cover the hole, wouldn't it? It would at least you'd have a talented footballer that's able to do some of that role. Is he the same as Basuma? I don't think he is.
No,
right now, it's very difficult to pick out any midfielder that can do what Basuma does, including Rodri. I just don't think. I think Basuma's got more to his game than Rodri has. I didn't think I'd be saying that 2 years ago. Certainly not last year, but he has absolutely got it all. So we get an injury to someone like Basuma or Maddison, we're going to feel it right now. There's no doubt about it. The wheels will be coming off a bit. We're going to have to find ways, and it's going to be some of these players that either have been cast aside at the moment, which could be a Lo Celso, or it could be somebody that's coming back from injury. Let's be at least semi-realistic. Although Bentancur's back in training, it's surely only light training. He can't be doing
yeah.
So
this is the question, Kuva.
Presumably.
So before we look further afield,
just very quickly. I think I do remember. Was Mickey Joy the Chelsea player? I think back in the early 80s.
God, let's have a look. Yeah, I don't remember him. Mickey Droy.
Yeah,
Mickey Droy of Chelsea.
Yeah. He was a no nonsense sort of player. That's for sure. Yeah, he's right. He wouldn't be on the pitch more than 5 minutes.
On Wikipedia, it starts by saying this: Droy was a tall and generally uncompromising defender.
Yeah, that's it.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, he played for Chelsea. Started at Slough, played for Chelsea, Luton, Palace, Brentford, Dulwich Hamlet, and Kingstonian. Wow. He now runs a successful electrical business and lives in Florida. There you go. Mickey Droy Electricals. I don't know. It might be called that. It might not. Before we look further afield, that's a really good point you raised there, Kuva. You don't raise many of them, but this is a really good one. All right. Bentancur, this is the question, right? I think a lot of fans just go, Bentancur's back. But this is the question mark. Players who come back from big injuries, it is always hit and miss as to, are they the same? Are their bodies capable of doing the same thing? Are their minds capable of allowing their body to do the same thing? Because a lot of them play with that, I don't want to overextend. I don't want to. So this is going to be a real interesting, I think, second half of the season when we get there for Bentancur, when I reckon he's going to be fully fit, to see, can he play this intensity after that injury? I'm not saying he couldn't before, but is that his game? Can he play that? It's going to be really, really interesting, isn't it, to see how he comes back into the fold.
Yeah, absolutely. Fitness levels alone, he's going to be struggling to get up to the required level for a while. It is so many questions to be answered there, isn't it? Firstly, the injury itself, will that have healed, or is that going to be breaking down and causing him problems further? Some players have multiple surgeries on the same injury because it just, the case of their career could be under threat. Medicine's a lot better nowadays, so they do tend to come back from these injuries. We saw it with Gaza, what seemed a similar sort of injury. For a lot of times, that ends a player's career. For some, it just puts them out for a while and they come back strong. Let's hope Bentancur is one of those. But it does raise other questions as well, because it's very common for a player coming back from a long-term injury to get a succession of other little niggling injuries, other parts of the body. I know from my own experience, I had a really bad ankle and knee injury on the same leg. You start favouring putting your weight on the other leg, and it becomes habit over that time while it's injured, that when you do come back to playing, you are now favouring one leg over the other. And it puts strains in different joints, different way of doing things. Muscles react differently. You can end up with all sorts of hamstring problems, calf strains, all sorts of things you weren't getting before the major injury. And it's a knock-on effect. If you're lucky, there's none of that happens, but I've seen it far too often in people, and I've had it happen myself. I was plagued with little injuries all the way through my career after I got a major one. And before that, I had no injuries. So, yeah, there's questions there on the physical side of it. And then, of course, even if he does physically come back, you've got to assume his technique's still going to be there. I can't imagine a class player completely losing their ability to play, although even that has happened in some cases, hasn't it? But it's that complicated jigsaw puzzle of all these bits have to go together again to make the player that once was. If we can get that back, and we get that Bentancur back, we are so much stronger for it then already. Because that's two positions. He could do that Sarr role or that Basuma role. Different to both of them, though. So it's an interesting mix.
It is interesting, and I think the key thing as well is the style that I don't understand. The style I don't understand of Postecoglou. I don't understand his football, according to someone. But listen, the style of his game is high energy, high octane. It is that running. It is not that stop. Listen, half a second thinking time, you're done in the Premier League, right? But any league, you're done, right? This is going to be the big thing for me. It's not whether or not he's still a quality footballer. It's going to be, is his body up to it? How long is that recovery going to take? Because you can't just, in that position as well in central midfield, you can't just bring him in and go, right, we'll give you 30 minutes today, because 30 minutes could be the difference between our midfield getting overrun and not. So this is going to have to be really carefully done by Postecoglou. This is a serious injury. We're not talking about you were out of a broken, I'm not saying a broken leg's not serious, but this isn't a broken leg where you do tend to fully recover. This is, this is your ACL. This is a tough one. This is 9 months. So I don't know. At the moment, I would assume that we probably won't see him until end of November, maybe 2 months from now. What do you reckon you would see him in a Spurs shirt?
Bentancur, end of November, really? I'm not expecting it till New Year.
Really? You can't put it in.
I don't think you can afford to take those chances with him. You need to give him plenty of time. You get back into the rhythm of it. Doing it week in, week out, training feels natural. He's not getting any sort of reactions to it. You've got to have the kid gloves on with him, because if you set back his recovery by pushing him too hard, you could be looking at another 6 months to a year out. It's not worth the risk. He'll be back when he's right. I've got more confidence in Postecoglou and his management team and all the coaches and assessing him than us having random guesses. That's for sure. We'll just see what we get. We'll see what we get. I think he could be the little joker up the card up the sleeve when we need him later on in the season. He could well be that player. Let's hope so. Because like I said, if he comes back fit and strong, he's still got his touch and he's able to get himself up to that peak fitness that's required.
Yeah.
What an addition to the squad he becomes then. It's like that'll be that January signing that we're already thinking we need.
It will already be the difference between him coming on and either Højbjerg or Skip coming on. Huge, right? It's just huge. Yeah. You're not then worried about, oh my God, look at the drop off. And that's what you need all over the pitch. I'm not saying you're going to get quality all over the pitch, but you do need better all over the pitch. We'll come to that in a minute in terms of the midfield and what's going to happen in January, because it is creeping up. I know that sounds mad, but we are only 90 days away from the African Cup of Nations and the January transfer window opening and all that kind of stuff. And 90 days will go quick. Just quickly, a couple of super chats. Strasbourg Steve came in and said the aggression from Romero and your side needs to be controlled and purposeful. I love the attitude, but spirit just needs to be channeled correctly. Yeah, I think you've put it how I couldn't, Steve, if I'm brutally honest. Thank you. That's all I meant. I think when I say things, Steve, I think people automatically go, oh, you hate Romero. No, I don't. I like him. I want him to be what people put him as. That's what I want.
And anybody would think you want us to get relegated and go out of business.
I know. It is mad. Honestly, you can't critique anyone. Can't critique anyone. If I critique a lot Kulusevski because I'm really underwhelmed. The number of people who come in and go, oh, you don't know a winger. And I'm like, well, I do, which is why I want better. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about Kulu, Solomon and Brennan Johnson in a minute. Top Gooner has said, I'm an alien from another planet, was looking for the smallest place on earth, and I found you guys. Big up, Savva and people. Big up, Top Gooner. Thank you for battering us last weekend 5-1. It was the beating we deserved. You humbled us. Thank you. Thank you for showing such humbleness yourself, and thank you for the super chat. Big up to you, Top Gooner, a friendly Gooner in the chat. Look, let's before we move on to the forward areas, the midfield area. We're talking about Bentancur. Let's move aside from him. In January, you are losing Basuma and Papasar to my brain's gone to African Cup of Nations, to Senegal, and oh my God, I've gone completely blank. Why have I gone blank?
Mali. I want to say Mali.
Mali. Yeah. You're losing those two. Ndombele is currently on track for another league medal at Galatasaray. You're going to have Bentancur coming back, who I still don't think will be 100% match fit. I think you've got to dip into the midfield market in January. No, I think you've got to. Can we get away with having a half-fit Bentancur, Skip, and possibly Højbjerg might be going in January as well? So this is going to be a real interesting area on the pitch for us, isn't it?
Certainly is. It kind of. We were saying it in the summer, weren't we? We wanted that extra midfielder in there because we knew this was coming up. And we knew some of the ones we got in reserve aren't really going to fit what we want. I think we missed out. Who's that one that went to United again? The Amrabat. I think that would have been a great signing if we'd made that in the summer as well. Who do we get? It's got to be somebody. We've got to look at high energy to start with. That's an absolute requirement. That's not a bonus. They need to be somebody that can get around the pitch. Constantly niggling at other players, getting into position, just receiving the ball and be all over the place. Mate Sarr has done so much work this season. His fitness levels are insane, really are. He's playing like something on you'd see on a game of FIFA or something rather than an actual football pitch. He's constantly at it. Yeah. I think who do we get? I don't know. I don't know what our signings are going to look like anymore. I mean, I could can do some like searches on things, right? Load up the old football manager, and you do refined searches by players with pace and aggression and stuff like that. You can look for all of those all you want, but end of the day, we've got a scouting network that keeps coming up with ones that are a little bit left field for us. I mean, I never saw Bentancur and Kulusevski as being on our radar, but suddenly they arrive.
Yeah,
Maddison, I knew nothing about. Look at him go now. I think I'll just trust whatever we're doing at the moment. That there's a sense of purpose with everything we seem to be doing right now, and I've got to assume January it'll be the same thing. I would imagine if we do get somebody, it's going to be somebody under the age of 25 with a great motor on them, that can just technically good. Don't have to be technically great. That would be even better. But just somebody that he can be is malleable. Somebody that Ange can get hold of and just turn into the player he needs. As long as they've got those physical attributes, that's a start. And they can trap and pass a ball. You can do so much with that if they're really competent at just those basic things. I couldn't pick it. Definitely need reinforcements there, don't we? But as far as I'm concerned, straight through the middle, defender, midfielder, and a number 9.
I completely agree with you. I mean, we'll move on to the forwards in a minute. And for me, for the midfield area, I think there's a couple of places where I'd go straight away. I mean, first of all, the one that for me that looks like an absolute no-brainer is Hatate of Celtic. Absolute no-brainer. First and foremost, forget where he's coming from. I don't want to hear this anymore. Someone's from Scotland. We had all this with Ange. Right? He knows Ange's style. He's played Ange's style of football. You bring him in straight away. There's none of this need to go, oh, well, hang on. You played that way there. This is how we play here. The other type of players I would look at as well would be, I don't know if you watch any of La Liga, I would go to Real Sociedad. And I know it's not this simple. I know this sounds like Football Manager, but they've got 2 centre mids that I would take in a heartbeat. One is Zubamendi and the other one is Mikel Merino. Those 2 players I look at and go, you would be brilliant in this Tottenham Hotspur team. So there are definitely players out there. That's just me spitballing some players. I'm sure Ange will have his eyes on whoever he's got his eyes on. But this is the key thing. We've got to learn lessons, from the Poch era, Kuvra. And what I mean by that is what we can't ever do as fans is sit there and go, oh, but are they going to get in above Sarr? Are they going to get in above Maddison, Basuma? You've got to keep adding. You've got to keep adding, evolving. You've got to have more players in every position. You're going to be able to bring players in where some games you go, oh, right, well, Bentancur or Sarr aren't playing. Hatate's playing today. And you go, cool, I'm comfortable with that. It can't be, the favourite 3 and no one else.
Absolutely. It's back to that conversation about Pochettino, isn't it? And, the people that were critical of it, what happened with him and should have taken the team further. But what we can't do is fall into that same trap of blaming a manager when they have got a great first 11, but then look at a bench and it's full of Mason, Bentaleb, Dyer, Davis, and Kudu and Jai.
There's nothing wrong with Bentaleb and Jai. Top players that weren't given a chance.
Perhaps a young Bentaleb might have done all right in a Ange system. He might have turned him into a proper player.
I actually think Bentaleb was a good footballer, but he was a footballer that at the time didn't really suit any type of... This is the problem with so many footballers. Even if you look at young Brian Hill now, it's not that some of these players are bad footballers. It's they've been bought to not really go into a formation or a style of play that suits them. And some players can adapt. Centre forwards, some centre forwards will just score goals in any formation. Some wingers will do... If you are a particular type of player like a Brian Hill, you need to play in a team that keeps the ball technical. They want to pass, they want to move, they want to create. Playing in a Conte system, that's not the one. Same with Basuma. Look at Basuma. Surely he's the biggest example of all of this. Right? You buy him to play in Conte system and everyone's going, this guy's crap. Right? Now you watch him and he play his own game and you're going, this is one of the best midfielders in the league. And that's, sometimes we have to break away and look at players like that.
It's like I'd love to be proven wrong, but players like Brian Hill, I just don't see him being a Premier League footballer. I just don't see it. Even when he has a little, flashes where it looks like he might do something, there's no consistency there. I don't see anything that convinces me he's going to make it in this league of ours. He can do very well for himself playing elsewhere. Just some players don't get on with the Premiership. That's just fact. Even the great Shevchenko was rubbish when he came over to play for Chelsea, wasn't he? And that was a player to score goals for fun.
Yeah, but again, that goes back to my point just now. Chelsea completely did something with Shevchenko that was different to anything he was doing at Milan. They were having him running channels, being the hold-up man. You want Shevchenko with another guy up front who does all the work and just goes, right, go on, Shev.
Soldado as well, yeah.
Soldado, exactly. Yeah, different level to Shevchenko. But yeah, absolutely. All his career at Valencia.
Yeah, and we know what the roles are in this team now, don't we?
Yes,
it's very straightforward. It's not something that's going to change wildly throughout the season. You have to ask, is Brian Hill one of those type of players? And I don't think he is.
No. In this team, where does he fit?
How good would it be if he did come in, started playing blinders, and he was hounding everybody down and being such a nuisance? That'd be fantastic. But
well, look. Let's talk then, Kobe. Let's move to those wide areas. Let's leave Sonny where he is. We're going to leave Son where he is, and we're going to talk about another striker in a minute. So we'll leave the centre forward area alone. Let's talk about the wide area of the pitch. So far, you've got, Perisic is injured, so he's out the conversation. So now you've got Solomon, Kulu, Brennan Johnson, and now Brian Hill, who's back in training and going to be fit again. For me, I'll say this. You might disagree with me. I don't look at any of those four and go, oh, yes, nailed up. For me, I don't look at them and go, yeah, finished article, nailed on, top player. I feel like it's going to be a bit of a mishmash throughout the season of who's going to play where. I think they're going to rotate. I don't know. I'm not being harsh on them. I just don't look at any of them and go, when you look at Mo Salah of Liverpool. You looked at Mahrez and Foden and Grealish, and you look at Luis Diaz of Liverpool. I look at all of these players like Kulu, for me, is a sometimes player. Solomon is definitely going to be a rotational sometimes player. Brennan Johnson is the unknown. Hill, again, like it goes back to everything you just said then. I'm not sure what the end combination will be when push comes to shove for the biggest games when everyone's fit.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you can look at it just our team in general. I mean, say left back, for example, Udogie. Is anybody going to challenge him for that left back role if he's fit? No. It's absolute nail on. But you're right. When it comes to the forwards, those different positions, can't really see it. I'd argue that the one that's most likely to retain his place throughout the season is the one that a lot of people think hasn't been shining that much. That's Kulusevski. I think.
This disappoints me no end.
It doesn't look exciting, but what he's doing is very consistent. He's helping out with the defensive duties. He's winning the ball back a lot.
We're doing that again, are we? We're doing that again.
He's constantly an outlet ball. No, he's just not exciting. It's kind of like a Declan Rice in winger form. It's he's doing all the bits that aren't that eye-catching. If he's not scoring or beating his man, then it's like he's not doing that well. He's more of become more of a defensive winger than he has the attacking winger that we were expecting and first arrived. So he's fitting in with what we're doing, and we are doing well in games, and he's very much part of that. He does against where did we play before Arsenal? It was the Sheffield United game, wasn't it? In that game, he created more goal-scoring opportunities than anybody else on the pitch. Didn't look like he was doing it, but that's the facts. They were there. He was doing his role. I think he's nailing on that spot at the moment. We do not.
But this worries me, though, Kuva. This worries me because, for me, I don't see Brennan Johnson as a left-sided player at all. I watch him on that left, and for me, he looks massively uncomfortable there. Running style, everything. For me, what the frustration here for me is this, is if Kulu's going to be nailed on for that right, it means that we're never going to have wingers that beat their man and go on the outside. Everything's going to be inverted. And where Spurs seem to have most of their joy, and hear me out on this before you think I'm contradictory, is on the right-hand side. I feel like Kulu, I was going to keep wanting to say Kuva, keep going Kulu gets so much of that ball on the right-hand side that at some point, yes, I get it. He works hard. He tracks back. And I know people want to chuck these stats down my throat of what he does defensively. But at some point, this is the difference between winning games and not, is when you're in those dangerous areas, what are those moments? And against Arsenal, so many times, grass to run into. And you're like, come on, run into it. And he doesn't. He gets it. He stops. He cuts in. And it's like, no. Like, if that's a Salah, if this is a proper winger, they run into it and cause havoc. And I don't know, there's something stopping me liking this guy. No, that's the wrong word. Not liking. Rating. There's something stopping me going, yeah, I really rate you.
One word, isn't it? Pace.
Could be. Could be pace. Could be.
Because those times where you're hoping to him to explode past a player, he knows he hasn't got the acceleration to do it. His top running speed's decent enough, but you could say that with a lot of central defenders as well, who aren't quick over the first 5 yards.
Yeah.
That does seem to be where he's lacking. I mean, he makes up for it in other areas, but again, it's one of those players. He's not catching the eye, but he's actually been quite effective for us. You need to have somebody that is really doing the unexpected, though, at the same time. Not a problem if you get it over on your left wing, and he's holding the right wing as a more sort of defensive option. You could have a doggy and a left winger tearing it up down that side. If that's just the way you play, that's the way you play.
Yeah.
Now, switching it around a bit, Brennan Johnson, I agree. I think if you're just playing him as a left winger, it's a complete waste of time.
I agree.
But I do see the options of if Kulusevski has to make up the midfield numbers, which he has been doing a lot of the time, then what's wrong with it? Temporarily, you end up with a sort of Sonny and Brennan Johnson as a two-pronged attack. You know, a bit of float. They can flip either side between them, offering that pace and the outlet ball and the real danger to the opposition with that pace, isn't it? So I think there's a little bit of flexibility on where he is on the pitch, depending on situations. Against Liverpool, it's another game where we're saying, the same as we did against Arsenal, is that midfield battle becomes so important. So if you pack the midfield with five people in there, and then have those two, Sonny and Brennan Johnson up front, as that two-pronged attack, you are there primed to spring on the break when you get the better of the midfield. That split second when somebody's found just a half a yard of space on the ball and they can stick their head up and see what's on for a pass. I think it's a potent weapon. So Kulu, for me, he's that winger that drifts in now when needed, does a lot of work helping out defensively, especially since we got Porro there as well. Yeah, Kulusevski has to get through that workload. Otherwise,
I agree. I agree. And again, I just hate these stupid opinions. First of all, I don't have to evolve my opinion at all, mate. It's my opinion, right? So grow up. I don't have to evolve my opinion. I do understand his role, but I think it takes away from us in attacking areas. Again, a lot of games this season where we've had grass to run into, and you're thinking, right, they're there for the taking, and he cuts in. And again, I don't know. Am I to sit here, Cooper, and just say every player we've got is world class? Is that what we're meant to do here? Are we not meant to debate any players?
Out, mate.
I just don't get it.
Christmas party every show, mate. Come on.
Do you know what makes me laugh for these children like Big Boss Man and this guy, right? What makes me laugh is this. If everything was great and there was nothing to be critiqued, we'd be sitting here top of the table, right? Battering every team. There'd be nothing to discuss. It would be like being on a Man City channel where the only thing Man City fans must debate every week is which one of our midfielders plays today.
We are that team. It's VAR robbed us, man.
Oh, it just cracks me up. Like I don't want to be that YouTube channel where everything's just, oh my God, this is amazing. You've got to have some critique. We've got to have some debate. You've got to have some conversations. So there's certain people, this guy should never be here. Just stop being here. Yeah. So Big Boss Man, cool. We won't listen, dude, please don't come into my chat. It's pointless. Yes, it's what I want. It's my opinion. Kuva is giving his opinion. It's why they're called YouTube shows. If you're too thick to understand that, don't be here. And now he'll go, oh, don't be rude. No, I'm bored of people not understanding what football YouTube channels are for. They're for debate. They're for conversation. If I said to Kuva, oh, Kuva, Romero does this, and Kuva went, completely agree. Kulu does this, completely agree. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Jesus Christ. Kulu got Savva on strings. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what this means. When did all these kids start being? I don't understand. Anyway, moving away from that, I can't understand it. For me, Brennan Johnson. For me, I make you right. I think he can. He's got the opportunity then that you could play both through the middle. For me, what I would love to see though is a game with him on the right wing where he can just go at them. And I'll tell you why. Not just because it's Liverpool, but when I watched Wolves play against Liverpool the other day, they had so much joy down the wings. They had so much joy in that first half down the wings. Robertson getting caught all the time. I think it was Gomez or Quansah who was playing right back in that game because Alexander-Arnold wasn't fit. Neto ruined them. And this is what I mean. Sometimes you just want a winger that runs at people down the sides, whips the ball in, and Liverpool were all at sea. I think cutting in is going to be what Liverpool prefer. They don't want us going to the byline. So there are games like that where I'd like to see that from somebody with that pace. Hence why you've bought that pace.
We've got options to change it up. So little things like, just imagine the standard setup we've been using. What about Porro? Porro goes onto the right wing and Kulusevski sits in a more central role as that sort of inverted fullback, taking the midfield slot. That gives you that pace on the wing. Porro's capable of getting to the byline, putting in some quality crosses. Again, Brennan Johnson, play him anywhere from that along that front three, offers the same thing. He's got the ability to beat people, get to the byline, or cut in and score goals. That's what's so great. You need that unpredictability, don't you? I agree. We don't have to play in this rigid set way in each game, and we don't. It even changes. It's fluid. It's fluid with every game. It's sometimes you see Maddison dropping deep to make up the numbers in midfield, not because he's bored and wants the ball. It's because he knows that the opposition are pressing hard and using extra numbers, so he drops deep. And then you'll see a doggy tuck in higher up the pitch rather than hogging the touchline so much. We've got ways of dealing with things. Again, if we're getting congested on the left-hand side, a doggy can drop deeper and help out, shore up any sort of defensive frailties there. And that would allow Porro on the other side to push up more, and he becomes the attacking outback instead of a doggy. We can flip it around. Or they can both tuck in if we're under real strain. And then, like I said, if you've got Sonny and Brennan Johnson up front as your outlet ball to play it more direct and bypass a congested midfield, for example, you've got more tools in the locker, haven't you? You can more ways of unlocking teams. But you are right. When we play against low blocks and things like that, you've got to move the ball quickly and you've got to use your width. You've got to pull that opposition apart all over the place. It took us a while to do that against Sheffield United. We did have some chances, but I think one of the things that's going to let us down now, I don't think it's really stressed enough how much we are going to miss Perisic this season.
I agree.
He has got that killer ability, that final ball of his in, better than anybody in the team, I think. Maddison's close. Porro's pretty decent at it as well. Not from wide areas, but Basuma is some of the balls he's playing out from deep positions to set attacks have been superb. I think we've got these options available to us. Can we make it work against Liverpool? Because they're going to be doing the same to us. It's just a fascinating game for me. Real indicator of how far we come along, isn't it? And where everybody's using the word test, quite rightly. But like I said, for me, them coming to our place at this point in the season, the way we're playing, it's also a test for them. It's just a big game. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think there's going to be a lot of goals. And let's just see how well some of these players step up on both sides. Because
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I can see Mo Salah being snuffed out and Darwin Núñez shining. At the same time, I can see Sonny getting a few goals in this.
I think he'll get joy. I think he'll get joy. And again, big up Roms. Roms is a Liverpool YouTuber. Big up to you, my friend. Hope you're well. Top guy as well for anyone that hasn't worked with Roms. Really nice guy. As I said, just spot on, Sav. We'd rather you play centrally than out wide. On a side note, this game will be goals. I agree with both of those things, Roms. I think there'll be loads of goals. I can only go by what I saw West Ham do to Liverpool, what I saw Wolves do to Liverpool. Now, don't get me wrong. Liverpool were brilliant in the second halves of these games and won it 3-1. But what I watched Pedro Neto and the right winger do to Liverpool's fullbacks is a blueprint for me on how you get behind Liverpool. And it wasn't cutting in. It was pace. It was getting in behind the two fullbacks that were high up. That's all I'm saying, right? So no, I don't just care about pace. I've always had the same opinion. If as a winger you don't have pace, you need to be brilliant at the other things you do. For me, there's been plenty of wingers who aren't blessed with David Beckham, not blessed with pace. But his main weapon was so good, he didn't need it, right? His main weapon was so good, he didn't need it. Then you've got other players like Robben and Ribéry who played on the wrong side. They inverted because they were so good at cutting in. Then you get wingers who purely played to beat their man, Ryan Giggs. All right, Ryan Giggs beat his man, Kulusevski. If we're going back to the old school Kuva. Players like this, players like Anders Limpar. Do you know what I mean? Players like wingers that beat their man, right?
And players that have got all of it, absolutely everything.
Sure.
You know, I'm talking about the late great, well, not late great, but the great Andy Sinton, of course.
Of course, Andy Sinton. But you know, listen. All I'm saying is, I can't. I'd be such a hypocrite if I turn around and sit here and go, all our players are great, none of them need to improve, right? And for me, the weak link for me this season, to appease people from an attacking standpoint, has been Kulu. Now, I think it's hard for me to say it's been Solomon because that left side so far this year on the left, we've seen Solomon start, Solomon start, Perisic start, Son start there, Brennan Johnson start there, whereas Kulu plays week in, week out on the right-hand side. So for me, I just want to see a tiny bit more. I don't think I'm asking too much. There's 347 of you in here. Please smash the like button. We should be on 200, 250. We're only on 175. Please smash the subscribe button as we're getting closer to 11,500. But we've had not one subscriber throughout the show today, which I find, Cooper, I feel that's really poor, don't you? Not one? Not one?
I think some of these people don't deserve to be watching.
Yeah, absolutely. The link is in the chat. I've just put it in at 11:28 UK time. Please smash that subscribe button and some super chats. Shafay Sajada said, I really want Eze, but doubt we'll get him. Eze, just quickly, Kuva, for you. Would you take him?
All day long. I really like him. Yeah. Bundle of tricks, isn't he? And if you're missing someone like Maddison, who would be a massive loss at the moment, you've got an Eze in the team as well. I mean, for me, I'll play them both. I think just absolutely. I
would play Maddison from the middle, and I would play Eze just slightly off the right because I just think that guy can do things. He's a brilliant player. But yes, definitely, I agree with you, Shafay. Thank you for that. Strasbourg Steve has come back in. Big up to you, mate. How did your date go the other night? I said if you're looking for a midfielder to look for in January, I recommend Lucas Gorna Duaf from Salzburg and Kefren Thuram at Nice. I'll be honest, I don't know Duaf. I do know Thuram. I like Thuram. I'll go
other way round for me. I watch a bit of German football, but yeah.
I don't know him, but you know what? I like that. Thanks for bringing him to my attention. We'll go and have a look and see what he's all about. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you to the one person that did subscribe. Thank you very much. What else did I star here? Just Sharp Pastor said, you're being hypocritical. You say you like Romero, but I've never once seen you praise him. I think I say all the time, like I literally said, I thought he was absolutely excellent for the second half of the Arsenal game. I do praise him. I just think just Shah, where I go against the grain is if people want to put people on pedestals, I will challenge that. I don't put people on pedestals until they deserve to be on pedestals. That's all it is. Yeah. I'm not easily pleased. All right. Ask my wife when she cooks a meal that I disagree with. No, that's just a joke. That's just a joke. Just a girl who loves Spurs. I said, hoping for a 3-2 win tomorrow in Andrew Trust. Big up, Kate. Hope you're well. Everyone, get over and subscribe to Just a Girl Who Loves Spurs. Great content creator, great personality, great human being. 3 very nice things I've said about you there, Kate. Remember that. 3 very nice things. All of them are true. Jimmy has said, Savva, you would go to Sociedad and not take their best player. This is what I love about football fans. This leap of I would not take their best player. I was talking about centre mids. Kuva and I were having a conversation about what centre mids I would bring in from around the world. I was mentioning Hatate, Zubimendi. I would take Kubo. I would, of course, take Kubo, and we're going to talk about the forwards in a minute. So it's not that I wouldn't take him. It just wasn't a centre midfielder. Big up to you as well. Strasbourg Steve has said, you need to find someone who replaces Kulu as a starter. Anthony Gordon works hard. Almiron, but beating his man consistently and contributing to goals. I think this is the key thing for me. When I watch a player like Anthony Gordon, I see a player beating his man regularly, and that's the type of winger I like. That's all I can say. It's only me. I like wingers that can beat their man. That's all I'm saying. All right.
He was a sort of rough diamond at Everton, wasn't he? But when after going to Newcastle, he's got a bit of layer of polish now. There's real results and what he does.
He looks good.
Was sensational the other week. He was like the best player on the pitch by a mile.
Is that against Liverpool?
Yeah.
See, I thought in that game, and Steve, you and I did a watch along for that game. Newcastle were all over Liverpool, and Tonali and Anthony Gordon was sensational. He then, in about the 70th minute, took them both off, and it went. And sometimes that can happen. But yeah, listen, I'm not saying Anthony Gordon per se, but as an example, I like wingers. I like wingers that can take their man on. I'd like someone like Pedro Neto, right? For me, unpolished, like you said, unpolished, needs to work on his end product, but scares the crap out of fullbacks. And I just think in this system, I don't know, it's just been great. And big up to Tigaro, as always. He said, my only issue with Kulu, as you have said, is that he is playing on the wrong side. He cuts in and takes space from the mids and the advancing fullbacks. I wouldn't mind seeing him trialled on the left. I wouldn't. All I know is, for me, Haz was laughing at me on Sunday because I was ahead of them on time. And every time he got the ball, my commentary was, Kulu gets the ball, cuts in on his left, passes 5 yards. And I get that. Sometimes it's needed. Sometimes I want to say Kulu gets the ball, gets to the byline. And the one time he did get to the byline that I can remember properly getting to the byline, we scored against Man United. The one time he got to the byline, it wasn't even a good cross, but he pulled it back, hit the defender, and looped into Papa Sarr's path. Anyway, that's enough about Kulusevski.
I agree, though. He's a sort of player. If he had a wing back bombing out on the outside of him all the time, it worked perfectly well, wouldn't it? I think that's kind of what we wanted him for in the first place. We were going to have the wing backs as a big source of our attacking play. And it's changed now. He needs to do it more himself because Porro's tucking in rather than going all the way down the flank all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look at our forward area. I mean, this is a concern. Let's talk about Sonny first and foremost. Sonny's not a concern, but I saw that wasn't my point. Wasn't that Sonny is a concern before everyone jumps on me and I get death threats. Sonny is a lethal finisher, right? He's a lethal finisher. For me, now is not a left-sided player. For me, that is his position, playing through the middle where he can be involved in the game. Yes, there's going to be question marks about when you play low block teams, can he get in behind? But tomorrow isn't a low block team. Tomorrow is a team that he will get joy in behind, I think.
Yeah.
The big problem for me, Kuva, is when he comes off or when he's not fit, the drop-off is huge. I know people will stick up for Richarlison. He scored a couple of headers. The drop-off is monumental for me from Sonny to Richarlison. Do you think that is an area we need to go out and buy another number 9 in whatever guise they might be.
Absolutely. One thing I've agreed with you with Richarlison, for me, technically is not a great player. He's just not. Ball control is pretty shocking at times. He's got a lot of spirit. He's got a lot of work rate. He's got a lot of aggression. Can you channel that into a great player? You're not going to turn it into a great goal scorer. He adds different things to the team. So, yeah, dropping from Sonny to Richarlison, it's chalk and cheese. Totally different types of player. Richarlison can get himself involved in, occupying defenders, putting himself in bruising challenges and aerial ability, getting stuck in with the forwards, everything that Sonny doesn't. But Sonny is the finishing touch on moves. Sonny is the world-class finisher, even if you're going to say he's not a world-class player. We won't go into that argument again because it's different in different people's opinions on what world-class. But his finishing alone is right up there with some of the best in the world.
Yeah, he's finishing
that
for sure.
That's what you've always got to do with Sonny. Find a way just to get him in and around the box on a regular basis and just get the ball to his feet. That's all you got to do. So whether you play him through the middle, you could play him on the left, but it's got to be on the left that's a very much an attacking left where he's constantly cutting into the box. But you can't play him as what we saw under Conte, where he's playing like this defensive midfielder role. What a waste of his talent. You've got to have him looking to break that offside trap all the time.
I agree.
And just get the ball to him. He will keep scoring goals. I'm gonna go for it. Could be on for a 25 goal season again this season. 5 in 6 so far, isn't it? So it can't be bad. Or haven't played 7 yet. Or is this the 7th game coming up? I'm trying to remember. Losing track already. Yeah, he's just got what you need. We need more of it though. So if we do lose him, who is our natural goal scorer? There isn't one. You've got number 9.
Not even a natural goal scorer, Kuva. There isn't even a scorer you put in there that is decent. It's not even like okay, we've gone from a 20, 25 goal a season man to a 12, 13, 14 season a man. We've gone to Richarlison, who his feet look like he's never played football before, Kuva. I'm not talking about, okay, in the box, he scored a couple of headers. And if I'm not wrong, haven't all of his goals for Spurs been with his head? 2 against Marseille.
Yeah.
1 against Liverpool. They were all headers, right? Last season, the 3 goals were all headers.
There you go. That's the thing that Sonny can't do. He offers that.
Right. He offers that. So he offers last 10 minutes when we're whipping balls into the box and corners are coming in. But his feet, his footwork is, Kuva, honestly, it's like watching a Sunday league player. It looks atrocious. I think that's being kind.
It says something where you have to start looking at him and say, oh, well done for that little gentle little layoff to Kulusevski to grab the winner against Sheffield United. Like in the previous weeks we'd seen him, he probably would have mishit that or not laid the ball off and tried to have a shot himself. But he suddenly had the confidence to do that and just lay a perfectly weighted ball in to grab the winner. The trouble is we're bigging that up as if it's a great thing. That should be the norm for him. It's a standard position to be in. Got to hope he can find a way to consistently score goals when he comes on. But again, it's another one like Brian Hill. I just don't see it. I like his attitude. I think we could all get behind it if he starts banging a few goals in and doing the little pigeon move. It's fun. He's a fun player if it's going well. He's a frustrating player when it isn't. And I think we need, I'll say it again, a lot of us were saying Gift Orban, anybody who's seen him play, the lad just knows how to find the back of the net. You need that. It's a very underrated skill nowadays. With players being told to have all these different roles within the team, offer much more than just goal scoring. Sometimes you just need somebody who is a great finisher. Sonny is one of them. We need somebody else that can do it. You're right.
And listen, we'll come back to that in a bit. But listen, welcome, Roms. How you doing, man?
Big up, mate.
Big up. I'm good. I'm excited for this game. I'm going tomorrow as well. But I can't wait. I think it's going to be a blockbuster. I think we're potentially going to see one of the games of the season so far, especially from a neutral perspective. I think yourselves and myself, we're going to be having heart palpitations. But from a neutral perspective, I think it's going to be one of the games of the season, honestly.
Well, how would you feel? How would you feel if it was being played at Anfield this time?
I would still be confident, but this is a different Spurs. And because I don't know if you're doing predictions later or early, but you'll know by my prediction when I eventually give it. But at Anfield, I back us against pretty much anyone. Like, I just think Anfield's a fortress, and I always back us. But if it was at Anfield, I would have us to straight win. I just think we'd win the game because one thing I'll say about Spurs, and you two will know, we never batter you or play you off the park. I remember there was a season when Sissoko and I can't remember who else had a 2-on-1 and Van Dijk was just exceptional. If you score then, the game changes. I remember another instance when he played at Wembley, I think Wijnaldum scored quite late. Lamela pulls one back and we're kind of walking on eggshells. Even you have to go back to last season. We scored 2 early goals and it's only really because Dyer passed the ball to Salah, and then that whole second half, I actually thought, yes, Spurs are going to nick this, and we managed to hold on. But it's always very tough against Spurs. You can even go back to the Champions League final. Look, I'm going to be honest, you were the better team. If you actually look at the last 4 or 5 years, we never back you, we never play you off the park. You always give us a hard game. And again, last season at Anfield, we're what, 3-0 up, and you come back and claw, and we win last minute. It's always, we're just getting over land Spurs. It's never convincing. We never play off the park. It's always just. And I do think that could run out tomorrow, but I am confident. I think right now, you've got 2 of the most informed teams. I know you two were discussing your attack, but I think when you have, and I agree with you, Sav, I think there's no more left wing days. Son is a number 9. Just keep him there. Remember, you would know, even in Kane's absences, some Spurs fans were saying Spurs look more fluid. I think Son's goal return improved a bit because he was the main man. He kind of relished that opportunity. So I am kind of worried tomorrow, but I think as long as you've got Son in the team, you will score goals. I agree. Brendan Johnson, I'm a big fan of his. Are you going to put all that pressure on him to score a lot of goals this season? I'm not sure. Richarlison, I'm like you, Savva. I don't. Yeah, he scored recently, but I don't really rate him. I do rate Brian Hill, but he's just come back from injury. You know what I'm saying, so I don't think he'll start. But I think as long as you've got Son in that team, and is Maddison fit, by the way? Because I don't want to go off Twitter. Little murmurs, but
apparently he said that he feels he'll be fit and he's been in full training. I think he'll play. From what I've seen, I think he'll play. I really hope he plays. He's our guy. Right? Yeah. If James Maddison doesn't play, my prediction straight away goes to a Liverpool win. And I know that sounds really, really negative, but we lose so much if James Maddison comes out this team. Yeah. So much. But Roms, I want to ask you, right? I've obviously got my opinion on Spurs, Arsenal. Kuba's got his opinion, and we've got Arsenal, Liverpool. We've got our opinion on what Liverpool are as a team. My assessment of Liverpool is that you are a very good team, still capable of more, finding your feet, that you can be got at the back, but that in second halves of games, you sort your shit out and you start dominating. How worried are you about your first sort of 20, 30 minute starts in games where you keep going behind, i.e. Wolves, West Ham, the other night against Leicester? And is that something you're worried about Spurs being able to capitalise on?
100%, because I'm one of the fans where when everything's going well, I believe as fans, you should still kind of outline where you can improve and what's going wrong for you, right? And I've got slated left, right.
Not according to my fans, Roms. I've got to sit here and say everyone's world class, mate.
Listen, lay off stuff. When you need to give praise, you give praise. When you need to give criticism, you give criticism. But you know the YouTube Savva, not everyone's gonna like you. But
yes,
I've said, for me, I'd say Arsenal, City, big up. After Arsenal, City, and I would say Spurs as well, we can probably afford to go a goal down and carry on coming back because our attack is that potent. But for example, tomorrow now, if you lot do score first, I don't think we'll come back and win the game, because it's not like we're playing another opposition that doesn't have a great attack. You lot do. Maybe not as good as us, but you still got to competent attack that will score goals. And I've said, Sav, even though we're winning these games, we can't keep conceding first, especially against better opposition. We just can't. I've had a lot of fans say, stop focusing on negatives. We're winning games. I'm like, yes, but it's still good to outline these things. It's still good to be aware of what we can improve on. Because I think it's bar Aston Villa this season and Chelsea, they're the only 2 games we've not conceded first off the top of my head. So I am quite concerned, Sam, and I think tomorrow I would like to get the first goal. Well, I'd love a clean sheet. Can't see it happening, but I'd love to get the first goal. And something you alluded to earlier that I commented on, I think you're spot on. I think you can really hurt us if you play wide, because normally when teams try to come inverted, now we've actually got legs at the Szoboszlai, Calisters, the Jones. We can kind of swarm you. It'll be a very interesting midfield battle tomorrow, by the way, but we've actually got legs to deal with that. Whereas last season when we had the Fabinos, the Jordan Hendersons, sometimes in the transition, they couldn't get back, whereas we do have that now. But as you know, our fullbacks go high. And I think Trent will be back. He's been training all week. What will happen is Trent inverts, and we kind of go into a back three of Konate or Matip. I think he might go with Konate now, but Konate, Van Dijk, and Robbo. And Robbo left centre-back is suicide. Honestly, it is suicide. If you can get down the right side of the pitch, I think you'll get a lot of success. But I am worried on the transition. I do think we will pick up that.
Is that the team sheet? Is that the? Can we zoom in and see the team? Tomorrow? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, I just think tomorrow that's where you can get your success. But then likewise, I actually think it's vice versa. With Udogie and Porro bombing on, you give Darwin Núñez that space in behind, and you don't like to play high as well. This is why I think this is going to be a very interesting game, because I think this is 2 teams at this moment in time that play very similar. Very similar. But I don't want us to concede first this game. I think if we score first, I'll back us to draw or win. If we concede first, I think the most we can get is a draw. The most.
Let me ask you then. I'll bring Coover in after this question. Let me ask you. Your attack is, I think, is pretty well known for having a lot of depth, a lot of options. It must be a nightmare being part of that 5, because every week, unless you're Mo Salah, you're thinking, am I playing? Am I not? Like, he's your constant, right? And then I see the others being rotated. What 3 do you think he will go with tomorrow? What 3 is your favourite front 3 for Liverpool? And then after that, I want to bring in Coover and talk about Szoboszlai, who I think is mustard. Front 3.
So my front 3, I have Salah, Núñez, and Diaz. For the simple fact, I think you lot play high, and there's so much space in behind. And what I think Klopp will play is actually my front 3 for once, because the fact he started Jota and Gakpo midweek against Leicester, I think that indicates that he's going to rest them. But I think Klopp will actually play my front 3 that I've played as well, because just for the simple fact there will be space in behind. Darwin Núñez in form, Diaz in. I think that the front 3 of Salah, Diaz, and Núñez have actually scored the most in the league. I think they're all actually Salah scored against Salah scored the other day, so I think he's one ahead. But they were all on about 2 or 3 goals at the same time. So I have them 3. Big up Junior Chikokura, but I have them 3.
Kuva, what is that the 3 you don't want to, from an opposing view, Kuva? Would that be the 3 you don't want to see lining up? Would you like them more? I'm not doubting them. I think they're class players, by the way. But would you like the more predictability of Gakpo and Jota as opposed to the running of Diaz and the let's call it what it is. He is an enigma, right? Darwin Núñez is an enigma. You never know what you're going to get, but he scares the crap out of me because I don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah, he is the one that worries me even more than Mo Salah. That takes some saying. Mo Salah, you know what you're going to get. He does it week in, week out. We have sort of nullified his threat in previous meetings. It comes down to other players to get the goals. Darwin Núñez, what do you get? You get the world's worst player for 20 minutes, and then he suddenly becomes LA on steroids for the next game.
LA on steroids.
He really does. He's got that awesome pace to go with it. That again, it keeps coming back to pace being mentioned, but it is such a weapon to have as a forward, especially. It means if he's got the better of you, he's gone. You've seen the backs of his heels and he's getting a shot away or setting somebody up. He's so unpredictable, though. You don't know whether it's going to hit the back of the net or rose at times. Like I said, and you said as well, that unpredictability worries you. They say that about players like Adama Traore. Adama Traore is just rubbish. He's just not a good goalkeeper. He should be a goalkeeper, maybe. Wide enough to fill it. Anyway, Darwin Núñez, he's got that ability to come up with a hat trick in the space of a few minutes. He's also got the ability to be rubbish for a full 90. I cannot account for him. I don't really know how you stop him. It's just so awkward and so ungainly with everything he does, and kind of drifts out of the game, but then turns that into a weapon because you forget he's playing sometimes, and then bang, he's there, couple of goals down, and it's like, how did that happen? It's so I would much prefer to see the likes of Gakpo and the more predictable players in than these sort of ones. But I think you've kind of worried me a little bit with another name you mentioned a minute ago, Savva, and that's a certain Hungarian gentleman that's been tearing it up a bit for Liverpool.
We'll go on to him in a second. I'm just looking at Darwin Núñez this season. 4 or 5. So the way I make it is that he's played 8 times this season, only completed 90 minutes once, but has been involved in 6 goals. He's got six goal assist contributions across the Europa League and the Premier League. So this is a handful. And you know what the thing is for me, Roms, before we move on to Szoboszlai, I never understand whenever I see you start a game and 3 of the smaller ones are on and Darwin Núñez isn't the main focal point. I always think you look a little... Sorry, the word isn't toothless. That is not the word at all, because you're not. But I always think you look a little bit less powerful. Yeah, imposing would be a great word. Yeah. I feel like you look less imposing and teams are more comfortable with, okay, I'm quite happy for Jota and Gakpo to be 25, 30 yards out. As soon as you bring on Darwin Núñez, like you did against Newcastle, it was like their defenders hated it, because now all of a sudden they're worried about him behind them. Now all of a sudden they're worried about you've got the option to fling a ball forward and he'll battle and he'll elbows and, I would never not play him. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if I'm overrating him. I'd never not play him.
Our fan base, I'd say it's very 50-50, because the fan base that expect him to be like Firmino and Gakpo and quite intricate and tidy, that's not him. This is why we love the beautiful game, because not all players are the same, right? I've been a Darwin fan from the get-go, right? And a lot of our fans that expect him to be pretty and tidy, they don't really like him. But I think you're spot on with everything you said, Savva. He's a nuisance. Yes, he will frustrate you. Yes, he will miss chances. And for me, it also goes down to expectation, because I know you get some Liverpool fans that say we can challenge, etc., etc. I still think towards the end we might tail off due to our depth in certain areas. But for my objective this season, which is to comfortably get in the top 4 and to win your Europa League and probably a domestic cup, Darwin Núñez doesn't have to be as prolific for me, if that makes sense. He doesn't have to be as prolific, but I do feel that if there's a defence that can actually deal with Darwin Covert, it could actually be Udogie, Porro and Van de Ven with their pedestrian pace. Even Romero is not the slowest. I think you've actually got a back 4 where, let's say if he was to get a head start, because he is lightning, but then so is your... I was just saying, Sam, I think Spurs have, if there's a back 4 that can deal with Darwin, it's potentially Spurs with Porro, with Udogie, Van de Ven's lightning, Romero's not the slowest. If he was to get a head start, maybe they could catch up to him. Because one thing I'll say is his ball control isn't the greatest. I take the rough with the speed. I love Darwin. So let's say if he overhit his touch, you might see Van de Ven or Udogie just close in on him and get the ball. But I would start him every game. I would honestly start him every game. And he actually merits to start now, because like you said, Sav, he's only played one game of the full game, 90 minutes. So,
and that was against Lask.
Exactly.
That was against Lask.
But
I'll be honest. I'll tell you what. If I was Liverpool, I would stick Darwin Núñez on Christian Romero. I would just say annoy him. I would say annoy him. Let him kick you. That is what I would do.
And you know what his temperament's like? His temperament is very
right.
So yeah.
I would play that game. Listen, guys, we have got 6 minutes before everyone has been redirected over to Perchy for his midday show. I just want to quickly talk about. I'll come to you first, Kuva, and then I'll come to you, Roms. Liverpool are dead. Club's gone. Rubbish club. Klopp's finished. Not lost for 19 games. By the way, that wasn't me saying that. These are comments I've heard during the summer, right? They haven't lost for 18, 19 games. Looks like they've rebuilt that midfield nicely. And the shining light for me, listen, I like McAllister. You know what you're going to get. I think Curtis Jones has done a wonderful job. I like Harvey Elliott. He's a nasty little git, but I quite like that in him. But Szoboszlai, Kuva, that's a player. That is a player right there.
What's his real position in modern game? It doesn't exist really, does it?
No.
It's like we're talking about Basuma being both a 6 and an 8 at the same time. Szoboszlai is like the other end of the pitch. He's that 8/10. He's an attacking minded midfielder that you've got to have in there. He's got sublime first touch, shooting ability is incredible. Set piece taker. He's got vision. He's got guile. He's got everything. In terms of, he's become he's basically the Coutinho that you used to have.
In fact, you took the words out of my mouth, Kuva. 100%. 100%.
You were kind of reverting back to what it was in early days with Klopp, before you had Van Dijk and Alisson turn up, and you had Coutinho in the team. You know that really exciting attacking-based team that's a little bit vulnerable at the back. For the neutral, brilliant to watch. I love watching Liverpool at the moment. Who doesn't? It's goals galore. So I think this is one of the major reasons for it. I think this is one of the best signings you made in a long, long time. And I think he's going to dominate the division. I really do. This is one of the reasons I think you should get excited about league titles coming back into the club at some point. However, City are a tough nut to crack right now. If anybody's going to do it, it's Liverpool.
Do you know what, Kuba? I'm not one to get too ahead of myself. I think this season we're in good stead. I think we'll still need a left-sided centre back, and we'll need a right back and a more competent DM. Because right now, a lot of our 8s, they're covering for that one position. Because Endo, if I'm being honest, I know it's still early, but he's still not that good enough. But I still think we need a competent 6. But I have us to challenge next season. I think this season still might be too much. You'll speak to a Liverpool fan that's more optimistic than me. Is that no? Who's to say we can't carry on going? But for me, you know what I'd say? The only way we can win the titles if we was to reinvest in January. Do I trust my owners to do that? No. So therefore, I'm not gonna go ahead of myself. But just to conclude what you're saying, you're spot on. He is the closest thing we've had since Coutinho. Because after Coutinho, we went to more industrial type midfielders. They were swarming. They're very energetic. But now we're going back to kind of technical boys that can keep the ball. And there's an old-fashioned saying: if you're a good footballer, you can play pretty much anywhere. And that guy pretty much can. He's one of the fittest in our team. The way he strikes the ball, I've not seen that in a very long time. And we love him. Honestly, we absolutely love him. And I think he'll be one of our best signings in a long time. And I think he'll win a lot for us. I do agree with you, Kuba. Do agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see him getting 15, 20 goals in a season easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a very, very good player. If I ever look at him so far this season, it's just he looks classy on the ball. You know, sometimes you look at a player and you go, yeah. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you only have to watch a player for 5 minutes and you go, yeah, you've got it. Like I'm not. You know those players where people have to try and find a reason why you should like them. Oh, well, if you actually watch closer, he does it. None of that. This guy you watch and go, yeah, you've got it. Great footwork, great finish. Listen, I want to get a couple of predictions before we close the show off. Kuva, let me start with you. Tottenham versus Liverpool, 5:30 kickoff under the, will it be dark at 5:30? Under the lights it will be, I suppose. What are we going for? Give me a score.
I'm going to go for a 4-3 Spurs win.
I think
it's just going to be You know what? I think it's going to be one of these games that even if Liverpool run out as winners, it's only going to be by a goal. And it's just going to be one of these games you just got to behold it and just enjoy it for what it is. I think it's going to be two very attacking sides, very open. Just a little festival of football. I think it's going to be one of the games of the season. I'm so looking forward to it. We've been talking about, I said earlier in the show as well, we've all been using the word test. Now, this is a test for both sides because I think Liverpool have got frailties, but they're just going to have to learn what it's like going to somewhere like Ange's team, where we are actually built to be able to be one of the teams that could actually turn them over. We've got that ability to snuff out certain key players and remain positive with our attacking play at the same time. If we're missing Maddison, though, forget it. We're getting turned over.
I agree.
It's that simple.
I
Trent's a bit of a doubt for them, but he was training again, so I think
he'll be back. I reckon he'll
play. Yeah. I'll just see goals all over the place on this one. It's just going to be fun. I am so looking forward to it. Really am.
Yeah. Okay. 4-3. Got the Newcastle-Liverpool vibes from the 90s going on here. I love it. Great games. Roms, away. You're going to be there. Give us a score prediction, my man.
I'm going 3-3. I've said this for the last couple of days, and I just have that feeling that it's going to be a high scoring. It's going to be a high scoring draw. I actually think you lot do take the lead. We come back, and then I actually think you lot go 2 goals up. I actually genuinely believe Spurs go 3-1 up, and then I think this is Aiden right now with Ange, but I think a bit of complacency may come in, and we come back to claw it back 3-3. But from a neutral perspective, it's going to be great, and I'm looking forward to it. I think until the final whistle goes, and I'll just have a heart palpitation. But until then, it's going to be a great game, man. Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to go 3-3.
Yeah,
don't you just love those games where you don't really know the outcome to the very final whistle?
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, lots of people predicting. I haven't seen a 0-0 anywhere or a 1-0. Everyone's predicting massive goals. Listen, first of all, thank you very much, Roms, for popping on. I really, it is lovely to have some conversation with some rival fans that doesn't just descend into biased commentary. So thank you so much. I really like your honest takes there. So thank you so much, my friend.
Yeah, big up, mate.
Always welcome on the show. And listen, maybe come on after tomorrow night if I'm live. Pop in when you get home and let me know what your thoughts on the game. Kuva, thanks as always. Kuva, I know you'll be joining me tomorrow for the build up to the game, for the watch along. So thank you so much for taking your time out this morning. Just a couple of shameless plugs here. First and foremost, I'm putting a link in the chat. This link here, you'll see it. This link here, please, if you haven't already, I'm sure you have. There's over 330 of you in here. Please vote for me for the Football Content Awards. I would say I'm doing well in the votes. I have no idea. So please do vote. The voting closes in 6 days' time, so we need as many votes as possible. And also, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to Football Heritage TV, and that link is the last link I'm putting in. So when you see the word voting, that's for voting for the Content Awards. And then when you see this featured, it's to subscribe to the channel. Much love. Thank you very much.
Very quickly, Sav, I'll just add a few. There was a lot of comments earlier in there about my hair. This is deliberate. While we're unbeaten in the league, this is not getting cut or brushed. I'm going for wild man look until we get beaten.
You're like me, Kuba. I'm very superstitious. I have little things.
Yeah. I just want to look like Jesus by the end of next season.
Jesus Christ. Oh, I can't say Jesus Christ. I got in trouble the other day. Do you remember saying Jesus Christ? Someone unsubscribed, said they were offended. Anyway, talking about hair, I'm going to go and get my beard and hair cut right now. Much love, everyone. Thanks, Roms. Thanks, Kuba. Thanks, everyone in the chat. Thanks for the super chats. Big up, Wayne Holland's been a channel member for 2 months. Talking about Szoboszlai scoring a worldie against Leicester the other night. Big up to you. Take care. And as always, come on, you Spurs.